Your BMWs, your Audis, your Mercedes-Benzes, they're not meant to be bought used. And a lot of people out there will tell you that buying used is exactly the way you should buy these cars. They'll tell you that most of the depreciation has occurred, and they'll tell you this because German cars do depreciate very heavily. They're some of the worst depreciating cars out there, right? And Japanese cars like Toyotas or Hondas, they're some of the best cars out there, right? And of course, I'm not including Porsche or certain models that are more resilient. Your BMW or Audi, Mercedes, they lose excessive value as soon as you drive them out the lot. And that's why a lot of people will say, buy a German car and buy it used, especially if you pick up a 10-year-old example, and that's a smart way to do it. But actually, guys, it's not really a smart way to do it. And the very first thing is that German cars are not what you think they are. I remember growing up, when I saw a Benz, I was in awe. Those S-classes or E-classes, and most of the time you would just see E-classes. Now you see A-classes and GLA classes, etc. But back then, those were the predominant sort of Benzes you'd see around. And I remember when I saw those, I always understood that they were quality products. And even back then, they were very expensive to own. And even back then, if you had a repair, it would cost you a lot, right? Those are foreign cars. But back then, at least you understood that there was quality in these cars. And they rusted very little. Their engines were built strong. Their transmissions were built strong. Their paint was good. Their body was good. And they weren't using excessive plastic materials within their engine base. German cars had a pretty solid reputation, especially Benzes of the time, guys. But today, they're a cash grab. They're resting on their laurels. They're resting on that reputation and trying to cash in as best as they can. They've been quite successful at it. Before our very eyes, these companies transform themselves. And they don't lie to us, right? They don't say they're made to last. They don't even try to sell that fact, right? What do they tell you? They say it's the ultimate driving machine. And they tell you that these are ultimate luxury cars. And they're ultimately innovative. And they perform really well. And that's true. All of those metrics, German cars are quite superior to many brands. And everything has to have a compromise. And where these brands compromise is in long-term quality and longevity. The market is okay with that. The market has accepted that these are leasing machines. The majority of these examples are leased. Whether you buy BMW, Mercedes, or Audi, the majority of these cars are leased. So the market's accepted that. And the manufacturer builds them to very short timelines. In fact, a lot of people say that BMW's newer models are reliable. And, you know, they're pretty good as far as BMW goes. But make no mistake, guys, some of these cars, they're barely making it out of warranty without major cooling work, right? There's so much plastic in their engine base. Volkswagen Group, the water pump and thermostat situation. I mean, that's pretty much a consumable. And that's their bread and butter engine, right? That's their bread and butter motor, the EA888 or the EA839 or the EA855. Water pump's an issue shared across all Volkswagen products and therefore across all Audi products. The whole ethos does not cater to longevity. You buy that 10-year-old German car, guys, a German car is pretty much only good during its warranty period. The first 3 years really where a German car is nice and tight, it's solid. After the warranty period's up, especially 10 years, oh geez, you're going to be in a bit of a mess. And of course, I don't discuss Porsche in this, and I don't include Porsche 911, for example, because those cars are quality products and they're expensive to own, but often in Australia at least, they have extendable warranties, manufacturer warranties up to 15 years. So the Porsche 911s are a little bit different, but your Audi, Mercedes, and BMW, they're in this category. The second thing is a resale factor. A lot of people will say the cars lose a lot of value, thus it's good to get a used German car, and that's fair enough, right? By the time you get it used, it would have lost 60 to 70% of its value. Now, I owned a BMW, and I bought it after it had lost 70% of its value, and from that point onwards, guys, by the time I sold it, it lost, I think it lost another 30% of its value, right from that point onwards. So these things can just continually depreciate. They're the ultimate depreciating machines first and foremost, and then second, right, in runner-up, they're the ultimate driving machines. So that's one of the things to consider, where just when you thought the depreciation was done, it's not done. There's more to come. And I liken it to stocks, right? I'm an engineer, guys, and I've got a Master of Business Administration. And, you know, overall, as a hobby, I've enjoyed investing in the stock market. And one of the things you learn about stocks is that the floor is zero, right? A lot of people see a Mercedes-Benz or they see an Audi or a BMW and they say, oh, this was $100,000 and now I can buy this car for $20,000. And that's a very common example. That's not even exaggeration. That's kind of where they end up. And a lot of people look at that and say, geez, I've done so good. That's a basement, right? But no, the only basement is zero for these cars. And that's how stocks work as well. Just because you bought a stock that went from $100 to $20 doesn't mean it can't again lose 50% of its value and go to $10. And then someone buys it at $10. Guess what, guys? It can lose another 50% of its value and go to $5. Then someone buys it at $5. Again, it can lose 50% of its value and go to $2.50. And the only bottom is $0. And that's what you need to understand about German cars. Because the market as a whole understands that these cars are not to be owned outside of warranty. And not only do they depreciate very heavily and continually depreciate, it's also really difficult to sell them from a time perspective. They're on the market a very long time, and I say that from experience. I've never had any trouble selling any of my Japanese cars, but my BMW took forever to sell, and I had to trade it in. The next element is repairs. Now, yes, you've taken away the impact of depreciation to a big degree by buying used, but what you've got instead now is repairs. And repairs are massive on German cars. I haven't even gotten into the maintenance. Because you're outside of warranty, anything and everything can happen. And a lot of people mention reliable cars or reliable German engines, and a lot of them are reliable. The Benz M113K or the M113. There's a BMW N52 or the M54 engine. There's the Audi EA888 engine. All reliable and solid engines. But these are foreign engines for us in Australia or for people in Canada and USA. And when things go wrong, they're very expensive. Things have gone wrong. And, so many people, I'm on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, Facebook, all the stuff. And so many people reach out to me with these engines that are meant to be reliable. If you look at the balance sheet, the amount of money they've spent on them, guys, it's ridiculous. And that's if they haven't been unlucky, because sometimes you'll be straight up unlucky and you'll lose an entire motor. It'll throw a rod or spin a bearing because something happened. These are very precise machines. Something was out of tolerance. You didn't know, even at low mileages, guys. You didn't know, you bought it, it had a issue, or the previous owner had somehow ran it on low oil, and it's game over from that point onwards. It's not like you've got a Japanese car. If you spin the bearings on a Camry or a Corolla, which I'm doubtful, right? Which I think would be an accomplishment, really. But if you spin the bearings, those engines are cheap. You can find them anywhere. But you do something to a BMW, Audi, Mercedes, oh, geez, good luck. The other thing you need to understand is luxury. Why do you buy a luxury car? A main reason that people buy luxury cars is because they want a luxury experience. They want to feel relaxed. And there's nothing less relaxing than having to do repairs. And that's what happens to a lot of people. You'll have a luxury car, and it will spend more time in the workshop than it will spend in your garage. And when I owned my BMW, that started to become a reality. My BMW wasn't that old. It was only 8 years old. So I ask you, is that really a luxury experience? So then you might ask, what is the best way to buy a luxury car or a German car? There's only one way, guys. It's certified pre-owned. Certified pre-owned is where these cars are about 1 to 2 years old. Usually around 2 years old is a really good sort of balance. Now, these cars come with warranty, right? 5 years of warranty. So a car that's 2 years old will have 3 years left. That's really good. But with CPO, they additionally add an extra year of manufacturer warranty. So now you've got 4 years of warranty. You've got 4 years of warranty, which is almost as good as it was when it was brand new, and you're saving a bunch of money. You're saving thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Now, there is a disadvantage to CPO, and the disadvantage is that price you get is not bargain basement, right? If you buy a 10-year-old German car, of course it's going to be at a reduced price. But I would say the best way to enjoy a German car is CPO, because you get a car that's newish, it hasn't worn down. You don't have to deal with any of the stressors that you get with a 10-year-old or out-of-warranty German car. But you have to lose a little bit in resale. It's not going to be as good as if you had bought, from a resale perspective, something that was quite old. But that's okay, guys. With a German car, it is pay to play. And the smartest way to do it is CPO. Hope that helps, guys. I'll catch you next time.